What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Off the Couch Boxing. I'm your host, Reckless Rexx Ruger. That, of course, watching my back is the Alexis Arguello puppet. We're back with another incredible episode, a banger. We're going overseas again, Mr. International, going over and talking to our fighting brothers. You know, where am I going today? I believe Ireland, but we will find out. I believe that's where my guest is. We're going to get him in here right now. I'm super excited, man. I am ready for this one. And we'll get him in here. Un momento. Jimmy? Jimmy? Are you there? I just can't hear you. You got to turn your microphone on.
Done.
There you go. Now I got you.
Brother.
Hey, it's good to have you on here. I'm glad to meet you. It's an honor.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks for reaching out, and thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. And now, having done this now for as long as I have, and I'm typically have boxers on here, the traditional boxing that people think of with gloves. Explain a little bit, if there are any. What are the glaring differences between boxing and bare knuckle boxing?
Well, the first obvious one is there's no gloves.
Right.
Obviously, no gloves. It's just boxing, really. To me, I've boxed for years, and to me, it's just boxing without gloves on.
Yeah.
Obviously, the difference in like how to protect yourself, you can't cover up stuff like that. But yeah, it's just basically boxing without the gloves. To me, anyway.
And now, how does a man go and prepare for this? Because, again, you make the point, there is actual boxing where we will often see, when we're waiting for a fight to happen, when we're watching on TV, we will see cameras go backstage. We will see guys getting the extensive hand wraps, their hands put into gloves. It is a lot of wear and tear, contrary to popular belief. The hands are not really made for that kind of abuse. How do you prepare your hands for something like that? How have you prepared your hands for hitting?
I've always right. I'm going to be boring because
no, that's okay.
You will have people on and they said they punch wood and people put their hands in stuff and you have all these different things about microfractures and so on. But for me, my hands are my tools, and I've got to protect them as much as possible.
Right.
So I will do the traditional boxing, like to get ready for fights. My bag work, everything to me is done as a boxer does to get ready for a fight.
Okay.
I don't do anything different. I never have. This has been my 34th bare knuckle fight, and my hands have been perfect. Very, very little injuries on my hands. And I see these guys come in and they're punching wood and they're doing all sorts of stuff, and one fight and their hands are broke. So in this game, especially bare knuckle, you got to protect your hands as much as possible. Even though when you're fighting, it's bare knuckle, and your hands are going to be sore after that. You punch bone on bone, they are going to be sore. So why put them through extra punishment, getting ready and doing these stupid things?
Now, how far back does the boxing thing go for you? Like, when did you get bit by the boxing bug? Do you remember what age?
Boxing, I started boxing at 7 years of age.
7 years of age. Okay.
My dad boxed. I'm an Irish traveler, so my culture is fighting. We're basically boxers. We settle disputes through bare knuckle fighting.
Right.
So it's always been part of. It's like that movie, Lock, Stock, is like with Brad Pitt as the fighter. Snatch. Yeah. So basically, that we're the real life people of that, the Irish travelers.
Yeah.
So we're that's what we do. So, but I've been boxing since I was 7. My dad boxed as a kid. My brothers boxed. So I've been an Irish amateur champion. I've won an English title. So I've been boxing near enough 33 years now. So I've been a long time at it.
And did you have a lot of exposure as far as growing up watching boxing? Like I said, you obviously said your father got you into it, but did you have any of those people that you looked up to in the ring? You know how when we're kids we have those sports idols, people that
Yeah,
we look up to. Were there
yeah,
fighters that
yeah.
you watched?
Mine was Chris Eubanks. I love Chris Eubank. My family obviously hate him because he's fought Steve Collins, the Irishman. So
Yes.
I,
Yeah.
I've grew up watching the likes of Chris Eubank, Roy Jones, Prince Nazim. They're the people I've grew up watching. I've always wanted to be like them when I was old enough to fight. And thankfully my career has gone very well, and I've done something with my life.
Now it's interesting you bring up Chris Eubank because whether people know or they don't know, his son is now scheduled to fight the son of Nigel
Yeah,
Benn. Now
I've,
the other
I've
day he cracks him with an egg at the press
yeah,
conference. Going too
I've
far or not going too far? Do
I've
you think?
I've literally got the London press conference on now in the background.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah,
watch it. It it builds it builds for a great fight. Like
yeah,
what's he done? He's hit him with an egg. He
yeah,
hasn't punched him. He hasn't done anything like that. He's hit him with an egg, and just because I think Ben has said previously that the eggs were contaminated. This is why
right,
he's failing drug
right,
test, because
right,
contaminated eggs.
right.
So he's hit him with an egg.
Yeah,
You know
allegedly.
what I mean? Yeah, yeah. So he's allegedly. So, but he hit
Allegedly.
him with the egg, which I thought was great. To be fair, I've loved it. So it's gonna be a massive fight. I've seen Eddie Hearn come out and said there's 130,000 people on the waiting list
Yeah,
for
yeah,
tickets for
yeah,
this fight.
yeah.
So it's sold out already.
And at the very least, when he hits him with an egg, he certainly sells a few more pay-per-views right
Oh,
there.
100%. It makes like from here to the fight, the press conference, everything is going to be electric. So they're going to have the
Yeah.
views on that is going to be insane.
Now you mentioned that you like Chris Eubank Sr. How do you feel about his son, being as that we're on the topic of this, and how do you think this fight shakes out before we get back to your own career?
Oh, yeah, he's junior's completely different to senior. Like you couldn't compare them
Yeah,
to each other. What senior has done with his career, what the things that he's won. You couldn't really compare them, to be fair. But this fight, this is a hard fight. Like 3-4 years ago, you would have said Eubank all day long.
yeah,
You know what I mean? But now Ben's come on. Like I remember when Ben started fighting first, he was absolutely useless.
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
and now he's turned that around, and I think I'll probably go for Ben. I'll probably, just something's telling me to go for Ben on this one.
Well, their fathers, I mean, certainly had two amazing wars. You know what I
To
mean?
imagine
So, I
all, yeah.
mean, if they can deliver us a fight, anything like what their old men gave us, I mean,
But they're bringing the entertainment factor already through the hatred of it. So,
yeah.
and the two of them can fight. There's no doubt in that. So I think it'll be I think it'll be a good fight to watch. Whether it be a great skill bout, we don't know, but I think it's going to be a good fight.
Now you are, and correct me if I have any of this wrong. I mean, like when I was putting my information together to talk to you. So you're 40 years old right now, correct?
Yeah,
And
correct.
so, like, what's the, because I imagine the timeline for fighting when you're doing it with gloves as opposed to not doing it with gloves. And again, correct me if I'm wrong on this. It seems like you might be able to add more longevity to your career because maybe you're not getting hit with as many shots. Is there a hesitancy in bare knuckle to maybe pick your shots and not throw as many because you need to preserve your hands?
Oh, 100%. In glove boxing, you're throwing 100 punches, but you're receiving a lot as well,
Yeah,
which internally is doing a lot of damage to your brain, because a lot
sure.
of it, your brain is shaking around so much more. And people look at bare knuckle and go, "Oh, it's a brutal sport," but it's superficial wounds, and people are coming out with cuts and maybe a broken nose or something like that. They're
Yeah,
getting over them. They're not dying, because we're not doing us at the BKFC now, we're doing 5 2-minute rounds. We're not doing 8, 10, 12 rounds
Yeah.
where you're being pummeled for all that time. So it's more dangerous to you. And with the bare knuckle, I've had a I'm 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 the longest serving fighter in bare knuckle history. I'm 10 years in. This is my 34th fight. I've seen people come and go that didn't know how to punch properly,
Right.
as in they didn't know how to place the shots, and they just absolutely destroy their hands. Like if you want a long career in this, you got to know how to punch and when to punch.
When? Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's anyone can go in there and start swinging, but if you want to have a career, not many people have careers in bare knuckle. People have 6, 7 fights, and they're veterans of the sport because no
Right.
one's having them.
Right.
Like there's no one in anywhere near my league of fights I've had. So if you want to, you got to think, well, how do I, how first of all, it's a hard sport to make a career out of, but
Absolutely.
how do I actually prolong my career in this, and that's through working on your technique, working on when to punch, how to punch.
And so after having done it for so long, what have you learned that's obviously kept you in good health? I mean, I'm assuming you probably have had some hand injuries, or have you remained pretty injury free?
I've for 33 fights, I've I've had a few bruised knuckles, dislocated finger, but not many. You'd expect a bare knuckle fighter to have broken hands every fight.
Yeah.
My hands used to get swollen hands 6, 7 rounds, which is part of the game. You're punching someone's skull without
Yeah.
gloves on. You
Yeah.
are going to have damaged hands, but not broken or fracture or any little minor stuff like that. But again, it's how you fight. You fight smart. You don't drop your head and start swinging. Like I will not punch above the eyebrow because it's just skull. Once you do that, you you're not gonna you're going to break your hand of someone's skull. That's like the skull is a hard bone.
Is it a trick where sometimes guys will try to come in and maybe drop their head, so you do get them on the top of the head?
Yeah, you get people like that. But if you look at my fights, I know I've come up against every one of them, and when I see people do that, I'll punch high over. It's probably like a horrible thing to do, but over the temple area, around the side of the head there.
Okay.
And once you hit there, if they come in low, once you hit there, that's it. They're gone. Their brain shakes. They're out of there.
And as far as the rules go, are there any big glaring rules that the people of the gloved sport of boxing? Are there any glaring differences, or are there any things that that you should do or you're not allowed to do that might differ from gloved boxing?
So obviously, I've had 33 fights with my previous organization who've basically sold up, and they're non-existent now. So
Okay.
my new organization is different, fair different rule set to what I'm used to. So, for example, my old promotion, it was just stand-up boxing.
Right.
So basically the same. We had a 20 count. We had the doctor with a red towel. Too much damage.
Okay.
He threw the towel in.
Okay.
Basically the same rules as boxing.
Okay.
With the new organization, the BKFC, you're allowed to clinch. You're allowed to hold heads, dirty boxing kind of stuff.
Okay.
So it's bare knuckle fighting as to bare knuckle boxing.
Okay. Okay. Elbows involved at all? Elbows involved? Not supposed to?
No, because again, it is boxing, but you're allowed to dirty clinch and stuff like that. But
Okay.
no elbows, no. It's just basically boxing with the dirty clinch and stuff like that.
And now, do you feel like with the dirty clinch added in there, though, do you feel like with this new set of rules, the guys will, try to slip in tricks like the elbows and stuff like that? I mean, it is one of those things where that leaves a lot of room for interpretation. You can dirty box, but keep it to this. Guys are going to bend it.
Look, even without the clinch, anything is possible in fighting, and that's down to the ref then to watch out for these things and to make sure fighters are safe. But again, we don't go in. Well, I don't go in with that mindset of, I can throw an elbow or stuff like that. But
right.
Again, professional boxing, people do these things, so it's down to the ref then to keep an eye on that and keep that under control.
Now, when you say bare knuckle, though, I mean, is it just like this, or is there tape? Is there something? There's some type of...
There's a tape, a gaze through from your thumb really down to your wrist, just to protect the metatarsal bones on your wrist and your arm, just so it stops your wrist from breaking. But as in the knuckles, the knuckles are bare, so you're actually getting hit with the bare knuckle.
And now, what would you say when you're in these fights is the riskier move to your hands? Going to the head or going to the body?
Well, for me, as a boxer, I don't like punching to the body. Just for the simple fact is, if I'm close enough to punch them to the body through an uppercut or something, I'm also close enough to get hit back.
Right.
I don't want to be in that range. But obviously the headshots are going to be more dangerous because you're hitting bone, whereas your body, it's more flesh. So you're obviously, the headshots are more dangerous to your opponent and to yourself with your hands. But again, if I'm in that close that I can throw body shots, I'm in close enough to get hit, and I don't want to be in that distance.
And now, does the bare knuckle boxing also have the same? Does it kind of parallel boxing as far as weight divisions?
Yeah, we've got weight divisions. I remember years ago, like literally when I started, there was literally no such thing as weight divisions. There was
UFC,
yeah, something very similar to that. Yeah. There was when it was like people were like fighting each other, like one guy could be 2 stone heavier. There, you know what I mean? True, and there was obviously a lot of knockouts because the big guys kept winning.
Sure.
But now, as the years went on and professional bare knuckle become more professional as a sport, then the stricter rule set come into it, weight divisions, weigh-ins, stuff like that. So every fight now was under weight category. Like myself now, I'm fighting for the European title April 26th. I'm fighting the welterweight division, which is 165 pounds.
And oddly enough, you're fighting on the same day as that Conor Eubank fight.
Yeah. I might fake an injury and just watch that fight,
or just more incentive to get yours over with quicker.
just knock him out. Yeah, I think we're in Italy, so I'm co-main event European title as world title fight. So the plan is to just go in, knock him out, and just watch the fight. But
now let's get down to the guy that you're fighting now. This is a guy that you do know. Now, I'm not familiar with all the different characters. I've watched several of your fights. You've been on my radar, and I think we've been friends on Facebook for quite a long time. But I can't say I'm familiar with a lot of the other people in the sport, though. But Ricardo Franco is who you're fighting?
Yeah. Ricardo Franco is an English lad. I fought him twice already. The first fight we had he's wanted doctor stoppage. I had a massive cut on my lip whereas my own fault because of, again, with that company, it was the same day weigh-in. It wasn't a day before weigh-in.
Okay.
So I struggled with the weight on that weigh-in. I was doing like 4 or 5 kilos in the sauna. Totally drained myself anyway, but I've got cut easy because obviously when you're drained to the point your skin gets very soft and
sure.
So obviously I'm winning. if anyone watches, I'm winning the fight through 4 or 5 rounds up or whatever it is, and it gets stopped on a cut. Which in bare knuckle is kind of like you get cut in the lip, you're into the last round, you're going to let the fight go. It's not like
Let it go. Yeah.
it's not like I've been cut over the eye and it's affected my vision or anything like that. It wasn't.
Right.
So the fight was stopped over a cut on my lip, which is bare knuckle boxing. You're gonna get injuries. It's just part of the game.
Well, obviously, you must have been upset about that.
Yeah, of course, because I was world champion. I was world champion, and I was cruising to the win.
Oh, that's even worse. So they stop the fight and they take your belt off you too because of this cut. Oh, man.
Yeah. I was world champion, cruising, as I said, cruising to a win. Won every round. Next one, I get stopped off for a cut to my lip, which is like unheard of.
So you were up on the cards in this fight as well.
Yeah, I was up on all the judges' scorecards. I think it was like the second last round, winning the fight and cut again, a cut on my lip, which is it's bare knuckle. These things happen. So the doctor stopped it. I've lost my world title due to that. So obviously, I'm fuming because you're a world champion. You're ahead in the scorecard. You let the fight go on.
You got
simple.
It. Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. So we had the rematch. The rematch come on. I stopped them within 3-4 rounds. Dropped them 3 or 4 times.
And you also have to let that fight go because you are also at this point in time a veteran, though, too. You know what I mean? Like you're not some new guy that they're jumping in there to save. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I think I had 20 something plus fights with just 1 loss on my record at that stage. So again, it was just the doctor we had. The doctor stopped it for like a lot of these doctors is you get a scratching and they're stopping it. Like a lot of them need to realize it's the game you're in, the bare knuckle game. You're going to get cut. Or
right. You know what you signed up for.
As long as it's not cut over the eye and it's not going into your eye, that was not a serious cut. You should let it go on. So obviously, I lost it, come back and took my belt back. I started within 4 rounds, dropped him about 3 times. When I dropped him on the second one, I've asked his corner. I've pleaded with his corner to take him out because he was just getting punished.
Yeah,
but they refused. So obviously, as a fighter, even though I'm a fighter, I'm a bare knuckle fighter. I don't want to hurt people.
Right.
I don't want to, because at the end of the day, we all have families.
Yeah,
we all have families and stuff like that. So I've obviously pleaded with them to take him out because it's, as a fighter, and you drop a guy 2-3 times, you know this guy is not staying in too much longer. But they let it continue. I dropped him again, and it was stopped.
And so what's the scenario going into this fight? Are you going into this fight as the champion?
No, as I said, the company that I was with sold up to another company, so I've got my own way to BKFC. So we're fighting for the vacant European title.
Okay. So this is a vacated title right now. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't think there's ever been a BKFC European welterweight champion. So it's the first time this belt has been put on the line.
And so you are at welterweight, you just mentioned, but like, how many different weights have you fought at during your career?
I've fought at 4 different weights, 4 or 5 different weight divisions. I'm a 6-time world champion in 4 weight divisions.
And so where do you think you do your best work? Like what feels like the best weight for you?
The best way for me, the day, because as I said, the previous organization was the day of weighing, so you couldn't cut too much. So my best work was being done at 79 kilograms, which is about 175 pounds.
That's where you feel your most. That's where you feel your most.
Yeah. So, but with the new company and the day before, I can make 165 or 165, and I'll probably come in 175. So around this 175 is where I'll do my best work, where I feel more comfortable.
And now, what pulled you into this bare knuckle avenue? Because you did say before that you had flirted with, like, actual, like, gloved boxing. How did you segue off into this, or did you just not want to keep going with gloved boxing?
Yeah. Yeah, I used to be the traditional amateur boxer. Was going to go pro, but as I said, we're the real life Snatch movie. We're Irish travelers.
Yeah.
So Irish travelers. So bare knuckle boxing is actually in our culture.
It comes more naturally. Yeah.
So this is how we settle feuds and arguments and stuff like that through the bare knuckle. So even when I was a baby, I've grew up around this. So it was never anything new to me. So it was always there.
Yeah.
So what happened was I went to prison. I went to prison when I was about 24. So when I've got out, I couldn't really go pro. My license was kind of gone.
Got it.
So I was supposed to have a bare knuckle fight with a relative of mine back in Ireland. So I've come across this group which did bare knuckle boxing as a sport in the UK. That was UB-BAD.
Okay.
At the time they were called. So I've gotten contact with them just to get a couple of fights before I had this main fight with a relative of mine back home. I've gone over to England. I've had 2 fights in one night in bare knuckle. I've knocked the 2 kids out. I think I've hit them 1 punch each, knocked the 2 of them out, and just fell in love with it, to be fair, because what it is with me is obviously being an Irish traveller and growing up with bare knuckle being part of my culture. I could the only ways we were doing bare knuckle in our culture was when we were feuding with other travellers, or when there was arguments, family arguments and stuff like that. But when I found that I could actually do it as a sport and get paid to do it, I've jumped at it, because it was something that I've grew up with, something that I loved, and I could do it now as a professional without having to drag my family into arguments and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. And I'm pretty familiar with it too. I watched a movie several years back called Knuckle, and it was about like the Quinn McDonough feud or whatever, and just the whole culture of, like, how you talk about one family beefing with another, and they just go out on a back road somewhere and settle it.
Yeah. That's how it used to be, and that's how it should be. But these days, there's a lot of back then it was like the 2 best of the families would go out, they'd punch each other's heads in.
Right.
And whoever won, and they'd shake hands. And that was the whole beef finish with to the families.
Right.
It was all settled. But nowadays it just evolves. So you're not really settling anything. You're just causing more shit.
Yeah.
Or keep just getting dragged on and dragged on and dragged on. And nowadays it's more weapons, and there's people shooting each other and stabbing each other. So the old way of life, even though we still have the boxing, is kind of fading out.
They're kind of taking the honor out of it.
Yeah. Because before, when like in the older generations, they'd go out and they'd fight and they'd settle, and they'd go to the pub together, and they'd have a beer together, and that was it, and there was no more trouble. But now it just continues and continues and continues.
And so when we see somebody like like Tyson Fury, who will come to the ring and call himself the Gypsy King, what does that mean when you put that label on yourself? Does that mean that there isn't a traveler out there that can defeat him? Does that mean he's the top? Does that mean he's the top dog in his own clan?
He's not really saying that. He's not really going out to any other travelers or gypsies or anything like that. It's just the name that he's given himself, and for what he's achieved in the professional ranks, he can call himself whatever he wants. You know what I mean? He's look what he's done. He's
crazy.
He's a man, and for travelers, he's a great representative for travelers in sports, and like he can call himself whatever he wants. It's nothing towards any other travelers to say he's the best at this and he's the best at that. It's not anything like that.
Now, are you somebody that follows the sport of boxing though, like glove boxing?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So
And so, who are some guys though? Who are some guys that when they fight, like you say, yeah, this is must see TV. I like watching this guy. I'm gonna watch him.
well, you just come off the Bivol Peterviev card.
Yeah, great card.
Great. Callum Smith Boatsi fight. Great fight.
Oh, yeah, fight
Virgil
of the night.
Ortiz.
Yeah,
Definitely fight of the night. For
yeah,
me, fight of the night.
yeah,
Virgil Ortiz, Madvo. These are great fighters.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I watch from amateur boxing to even the lowest pro boxing to the highest.
Me too. I'll watch anything that's on.
Anything. Anything. I have my little I'm my two little babies with me watching the boxing.
Yeah,
I've grew up in a boxing household. My dad
yeah.
he'd be sitting there just watching boxing. Anytime's box now. And thankfully now in my era, in our era, you have YouTube on.
I know.
You know, so your boxing is just continued.
You can watch shit from 30, 40 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah,
Any
yeah.
fight you want.
I'm a massive boxer. Even though I'm a massive bare knuckle, I'm a bare knuckle fighter and I love bare knuckle. Boxing will always be number one sport to me because I'm a true boxer.
And so you see all these guys all taking to social media now because that's the way of the world now. And, they're always saying, I'm the face of boxing. I'm the face of boxing. Who do you think really is the face of boxing right now, the sport?
To me, it has to be Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is still the face of it. You have the likes of Gervonta Davis coming up and a few more of them, but Canelo Alvarez is the face of boxing. You don't get bigger than him.
And now, you mentioned that you've fought in multiple weight classes. Where do you stand on a guy like Bud Crawford? Does he have a chance coming all the way up to 168 pounds to fight Canelo? It's a tall order.
Yeah, it's a massive order. Like, it's a hard one because obviously Bud is a great fighter and he's proved that. But you're coming up against a great as well, and just a guy that's an absolute animal in his weight division. So but I still think Bud's going to give it a good fight. But I just don't think he's going to be big enough or good enough for Canelo.
Do you like that Saudi Arabia is becoming such a big player in the boxing world though now? Because obviously what they just gave us on Saturday was what diehards are always asking for. A stacked card. Every fight was evenly matched. They were almost all world title fights. And here in the States, the price was $25.99. $25, man. I mean, ordinarily you pay $100 for a card like that.
You go before the Saudis got involved, that you go on any boxing show, whether it be in America, Top Rank or them Eddie Hearns, all that.
Yeah.
Said there's 8 fights.
Yeah.
You know the winner of them 7 fights.
Yeah.
Just looking at it.
Yep.
And the last fight then it'll be obviously it depends who the champion is, be a good fight.
Yeah.
But with the Saudis come in, it's like, wow. Like, they're putting the fights that should have been put on years ago on.
Yeah.
Everyone is fighting everyone now, where people have been probably not ducking each other, but champions wouldn't fight each other. There was no really. Now everyone, I've seen more undisputed champions since the Saudis came in than anything else.
Yeah.
And every it's obviously it's costing them a fortune, like to put these fights on, but for the fans as yourself, we're just appreciating it.
Of course.
Because now it's exciting again. He's made boxing exciting again for the fans.
Yeah. Now, where do you stand on? I ask a lot of people that who come on here this question, and it is kind of a polarizing topic. Usually, people are on one side or the other. Where do you stand on these Jake Paul events? I know they bring eyes to the sport. Are you a fan, or do you think these are crap?
To be fair, I'm just there. I'm not pushing it. It doesn't make any difference to my life what goes on with it.
Yeah.
If they're making a few quid and he's making the fighters a few quid, and no one's getting seriously injured, I'll go to them.
Yeah.
But you look what he's done for Serrano. Like
Yeah.
he's got her with the money that she should have been on a
Yeah.
long
And that's
time.
nice to see. That's nice to
And
see.
he's got fighters. I think he's done a card, which is, I respect this. He's done a card before, and for whatever reason, the cards got squashed or cancelled, and he's paid the fighters
Yeah.
half of whatever,
Yeah.
like they're half the purse or whatever. He still paid them, and you got to respect a man like that to still give it to the fighters.
Yeah. As a promoter, he's at least doing good things for the
Yeah,
people on the card.
yeah, he's doing good, and I think as well he's doing a lot of charity work and boxing work where he is as well. So he's obviously he's not going to get the respect, like uh, Eddie Hearn, Warren, uh, Golden Boy, or any of the top promoters. He's not
Right.
going to get that respect, but he's not doing a bad job.
Now, another guy that I see, and again, because I don't know all the names specifically in the bare knuckle, but when I was looking, at your resume, saw a lot of different appointments, fights, but I, didn't see a lot of different names. Now, Ricardo Franco is a return one. Another guy I saw multiple times on your resume was a guy named Barry Jones. Is there a history with him? Is he another top guy in the sport?
Yeah, I've fought Jones twice. He's beat me. He's cut me in the eye last time, but he's he's with a different organization
Okay.
than when I'm in. So what's happening is the organization that we were both in. I don't know if you're familiar with the bare knuckle promotions in the US. You have BKFC and
Yeah,
you have
that's the main one I'm familiar with.
and you have BYB, Backyard
Okay.
Brawl.
Okay.
So basically, Backyard Brawl have bought the company that I was a previous fighting for,
Okay.
BKB. So when they've bought that, a lot of the fighters that was with BKB joined with the BYB.
Okay.
Me, for instance, I've gone to the BKFC.
Okay.
If you look, I don't know if you're familiar with the BYB. If you look at them, they fight in the smallest little triangle ring that you could ever see.
Okay.
Like for me, I'm a boxer. I box. I'm not a pub brawler. So
Yeah.
no disrespect to them, but
You want a little more room, a little more real estate
yeah,
in there.
basically. But look, fair play to them, and I wish them all well. But I'm a boxer, and I've always been a boxer through my amateur days, and I'm not a brawler, and just the thought of just fighting in rings like that just didn't do anything for me. You know what I mean? I like to be able to show my skill
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So this is why I've gone where I've gone, and Barry has stayed where he is, and he's still competing. He's a world champion in
Okay.
the BYB, and I wish him all the best as well.
And so one thing that fascinates me about just fighting in general, and I think obviously you'll be aware of this as well, but I think the mental component, you can teach people to throw a jab, you can teach a lot of the physical tools, but the mental side of fighting, I think most people do anything they can typically to avoid a confrontation, that fight or flight inside of us. Sometimes when we're pressed hard and something's dangerous and in our face, we either stand up to it. But I think if it comes down to a fight, a lot of people will do their best to avoid, possibly even run. You know what I mean? Like, when did you know that you had the mental toughness to fight? Because it's not for everybody. There's obviously fear, anxiety. You got to kind of harness all that stuff and use it to your benefit.
Yeah, but as I said, I've always fought as a kid. But to me, like, don't get me wrong, every time I get in the ring, I'm shitting it. You know what I mean? It's like your nerves and everything. But I just look at it as a sport. That's all it is to me. It's not. Unfortunately, you get punched in it, but it's not real life. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're home with your kids and all that's real life stuff. So the ways I go into it and go, right, this is a job. This is what you get paid for. You're not going to die. It's going to be over. Just go in and get it done. You know what I mean? I'll just get it done. I'll soak it up, and I'll just get in there and just get done. A lot of people, as you say, they can't bring themselves around to that.
Yeah.
but these people aren't fighters. There could be anything other thing in their life, but you know who fighters are and who's going to make it into these sports, and then you have the people then that talk about it, and just when it comes to it, they just can't do it, and that's not wrong with themselves. Everyone's not built the same, you know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
Uh, I, I honestly think a boxer, you kind of have to have something kind of loose up there
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
even want to be a fighter. Now, I don't get in arguments on streets or anything like that because again, I don't want to. I don't
Right.
need to.
Right.
I will avoid it if I can. But when it comes to the ring, that's part of my job.
Right.
I'm I don't know anything other than to fight in the ring.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And so, so I mentioned earlier, you're age 40. Have you given yourself a deadline, or are you just kind of playing it by ear? Is there a certain date that you, or
My,
a certain age where you'd like to be done
my,
fighting by?
yeah, my deadline was 40. My
And here we
deadline
are.
was my deadline was 40 actually. When I've started this is about 30, 31 or something when I've started pro bare knuckle. I've
Yeah.
set myself target of right, Jimmy, you're gonna stop when you're 40. Do as much as you can till then. But now I'm 40 and 4 years ago I made the decision to stop drinking and partying and doing whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm 4 years clean and it took me a while to build up, but as a fighter, I'm better now than what I was when I started.
Yeah.
You know, I'm completely like levels above where I was. So when I've hit 40, I've thought you're too good to stop now.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel old.
Right.
Like for example, 2 days ago I was sparring a 20-year-old national English national champion, and I was giving them hell.
Yeah.
So I know I've still got it. So even though I've set myself a target of 40, if I stop now, I know in 5, 10 years time I'll be thinking,
You'll be
why
questioning
did
it. Yeah.
why did you stop when you
Yeah.
stopped when
Yeah.
you knew you had more to give?
Yep. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even
Yeah.
though
It'll eat at you. It'll eat at you. Yeah.
I've did I've did an interview the other day, and the guy goes, "Oh man, how old are you, Jim?" And I went, "I'm 40." He goes, "What? You're still fighting at 40?" I went, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Even though I'm 40, I don't feel 40. So when I think it comes a time in every fighter's life that they know when it's time. Uh, whether they're old, young, I think your body tells you when you
Yeah.
start slowing down,
Yeah.
when you start getting punished.
You'll
You
feel
just
it.
know. You
Yeah.
just know when father time comes for you, it comes for you. When your career's coming, then you will know. And for me, right at this present moment, I don't feel any of that. I still feel young. I'm still fresh. I'm still sharp. I'm still powerful. So for now, I'm hoping to get 4 or 5 years out of it if I can. We're 45
Sure.
and still fighting.
Yeah.
And the ways I fight, if you look at my fights, I don't take much punishment.
Yeah.
I don't like getting stuck into wars because I think it's pointless,
Yeah.
especially in bare knuckle. So as long as I can keep doing what I'm doing and feeling this way, I'm hoping I can get at least another 5 year out of it.
And I saw in a couple of interviews also, and I really like applauded this too. I applauded it when Tyson Fury did it as well. I think sometimes when people are in a sport that's perceived as macho, it's almost not considered okay to do this. But you've been pretty open about struggling with depression in the past and stuff as well.
Yeah, yeah. My
And I
dad,
think it's great. And I want to say, I think it's great when people who are perceived as warriors, tough guys, you know what I mean, like you and the Tyson Furies of the world. I think it's great when, now that men's mental health can be talked about more freely too.
we're all just people at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
We're all just people. That whether you're a fighter, a banker, work on the railways, we're all men, and the stigma attached to men being strong and men can't be depressed and all that.
Right.
That's a load of shit.
Yeah,
That's a load of
I
shit.
agree.
My dad was one of those people who never talked about it.
Stuff everything
He was a
in. Yeah,
much man, and he committed suicide.
yeah, yeah,
I fully believe if my dad talked about it, told his family about it,
yeah.
he'd still be here today.
Got shit off his chest.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
So and since he died, obviously I've suffered bad depression. Obviously, my dad, my best friend, my hero, my everything, it's gone. So
yeah,
obviously, I start drinking loads. I've been in a like bad ways, but I made a decision. I need to speak about this.
yeah, yeah,
I need to show people it's okay. And with the platform I have, bare knuckle champion, if I can speak about it, other people can speak about it.
yeah,
And the amount of people I've had message me saying, Jimmy, you talking about that has made me come out and
yeah. I agree.
speak
I
out,
agree. Yeah.
has made me talk to my family. Multiple people have come up and said that to me. And for me, it's like I've done something.
Yeah.
You know, I've done something with my career, my life to help other people.
And especially when
And
it's people that fight for a living too, you know what I mean? The fact that you can spill yourself out and
but,
say, "Hey, look, you know what
but
I mean?
this,
I'm still tough. I still do what I
but
do,
this
but it's
is,
okay to
but this,
let this out."
again, this is the stigma attached to it that
It is. Yeah.
only weak people get depressed.
Right.
Only weak people talk about it.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. I agree.
everyone gets it. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if it's me, Tyson Fury. It doesn't matter if you're the strongest man in the world and you have all the your 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 mental health, your feeling side doesn't change. Even though you're a man, it doesn't make a difference. You could be the strongest man in the world, but once the pressure hits you, it brings us all down. We're all weak to it, and for us not to speak about it, I think it's even weaker.
And did you ever feel like it was an obstacle in your fighting career?
Depression of it always was because I've always drank. I've always drank a lot, and I've through alcohol and substance abuse, I've masked.
I have
I've
over the
masked
years
my
too. Same here.
I've masked my depression to
Been
the
there.
point. I remember when I stopped drinking and I've stopped taking substances. My depression come back worse than it ever had.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was sitting in a psychiatrist's room and I was basically crying and he said, because you don't drink anymore, because you can't you can't mask over it.
Right. Right.
You can't. So it's coming to the surface. So now
Right.
you have to deal with it.
The alcohol was numbing it. Yeah. You were keeping
It was
everything numb
numbing it.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So when I felt depressed, I was drinking, I was taking coke. When I was going between the two of them. But
Yeah.
once you had to deal with it, wow, that was
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, if you do carry out your plan and you do have 4 or 5 more years to fight, have you thought ahead to what life after fighting will look like? Will you remain involved in the sport in any way, promoting, training?
Yeah,
I mean, what will you do afterwards? Do you feel
uh,
like you'll always be attached to the fight game?
I'm always gonna when especially over in the UK when bare knuckle gets talked about, my name will always be there.
Yeah,
Um, but it's hard for me now. I've got many people asking me, "Oh, can you coach me? Can you manage me? Can you do?" And I just tell them, "Look, I'm concentrating on my career,
right,
so I don't have the time to focus on anyone else's
right.
career when I'm doing mine. So when I do retire, um, with the help of my coach that I'm training with, we'll bring fighters in. We'll bring bare knuckle fighters in. My coach is a professional coach. He does Thai boxers. He does all sorts. So we'll start our own bare knuckle gym. We'll bring fighters in. We'll put on a few shows. We'll especially with the network that I've had throughout the years, and I can put on these shows and I can help these fighters.
Yeah, yeah. And so, how active typically is a bare knuckle fighter? Like, yeah, like is this your first fight of 2025 here in April? How many times typically
Yeah,
will you fight in a year?
I like to get out at least 3 times a year.
Okay.
I
Okay.
like to get out every three times a year, every 3 months, 4 months. Obviously, I haven't fought in a year due to contractual situations,
Yeah.
which is pretty crap. But especially as well at 40 years of age, you while you're still feeling fresh, you like to get as much fights as you
Sure.
possibly can. So I
Clock's
mean,
ticking. Yeah.
yeah, like for me, a bad year is 2 fights.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I like to get three. When I was younger, when I was fighting, I was doing 6 fights a year, 7 fights a year.
Right.
I was on every show. You know what I mean? So now I'm more smarter on what I do. Now it's 3 fights, three good fights.
Yeah.
3 fights I can ask for some good money.
And for people that might not know, like where's the best place? You might not know here in the States, but where's the best place to keep track if people want to tap in and find out what's going on with Bare Knuckle, even the organization that
Yeah.
you fight for?
We have all our shows on the Zone Sport,
Okay.
DAZN. If you're on that, if you're a subscriber to Zone, you'll see our upcoming shows. YouTube, if you want to put in BKFC YouTube or put Jimmy Sweeney BKB on YouTube, you'll see all my fights. But for any of the live shows in America, Italy, get on the Zone Sport.
I appreciate you doing this, man. It was a pleasure and an honor getting the chance to meet and chat with you. I just asked that now that you've been on here, man, stay in touch, man. I'd love to have you back on. You're a great guest.
Anytime you need me on, just give me a shout.
I appreciate you, man. And best of luck in April, man. And get rid of this guy quick. You got a Conor Ben Christian fight to watch, for God's sake.
100%.
You can't be messing about too long on the night now.
Just get it done early. Don't get paid for overtime, brother.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Jimmy. It really was an honor. Thanks, buddy. Good talking to you, man. All right. Later, friend. There he goes, folks. Bare Knuckle King. Now, this is real fighting, folks. I know I have all the guys on here who wear the gloves, man. This guy's doing it bare knuckle, for fuck's sake, man. That is Jimmy Sweeney, the king of bare knuckle boxing, man. You heard him. He's coming into his 34th bout, 29-4. Coming into his 34th bout on April 26th against what sounds like an old nemesis, Ricardo Franco. Just great to get a different perspective, man. The fact that I do have guys on here who box the traditional way that we here in the world know of. When we think boxing, we think gloves. But bare knuckle is something different, man. It's a different animal, man, and it's entertaining as hell, man. I go on and watch it. Jimmy is very much on my radar. I've watched numerous fights of his. I can't say that I have a great, vast knowledge of the sport beyond a couple of different guys, Jimmy being one of them. But it is fascinating to watch, folks. I mean, that's pugilism at its finest right there, man. Stripped down to the bare bones, man. Just as you heard Jimmy say, a little bit of wrapping and around the hands, and they're going at it, man. And Jimmy, certainly the biggest fish probably in that pond of bare knuckle fighting. A name that is synonymous with it, man. And hopefully he gets the job done on April 26th. And great guest too, man. Just could probably sat and talk to him all day about fighting, man, and picked his brain on the sport. But all good things got to come to an end, man. But we will have Jimmy back, man. Great fucking guest, man. Great chat, man. Make sure to like and follow Off the Couch Boxing on Facebook. You got to do that. And if you're here on the channel, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay tapped in. This is where the most amazing and real conversations happen anywhere on planet Earth. You're not going to get better boxing content than right here, folks. Off the Couch Boxing, the champion, undisputed, undefeated champion of boxing podcasts, man. And you know what I always say when I end these things? If you want to be a champion, you got to roll with the champs. Peace.